Tin Man Fabrication here, teaming up with Street Thunder magazine on our 67 Mustang coupe build. Today we're here to install a set of Tin Man Fabrication's welded subframe connectors for the 1965 through 73 Mustangs. These are intended for fastbacks, coupes, as well as convertibles. This is a set of our connectors here that we already have prepped for installation. Our subframe connectors are unique in that the front side of the subframe connector actually will slip inside the front subframe on your Mustang. The rear side tucks up underneath your rear subframe, welds into the side of your subframe as well as all the way around through your rear torque box. In preparation for installing your subframe connectors on a Mustang, you're going to need to have your car sitting level from side to side, as well as being supported from your axle center lines. In this situation, we have our car set up on auto twirler for demonstration purposes. It's probably not the most ideal, but we've done some checks to make sure everything's where it belongs. The first thing we did underneath this car is we did some sanding and scuffing to get this thing ready for some paint. But we're not going to paint the other side of this car until after the connectors are installed. What we did is we sanded the areas underneath where the subframe connector will be installed. We did a self-etch primer and then a chassis black paint just in the areas where the connector is installed. On the subframe connector itself, we did the same thing on the top side, because that area you won't be able to get with paint after the installation is done either. The basic installation of this thing, as you'll be able to see, it will slide into the front subframe, and the rear tucks under right in line with the rear subframe. Well, we're ready to cut open the front subframe. A couple things you want to keep in mind. Obviously, get your eye protection on. We don't want a trip to the hospital. Good set of ear protection is a good idea if you're using power tools. My tool of choice is a cutoff wheel. This is a 30 thousandths thick green wheel at 3M builds. So it's awesome for cutting any sheet metal. With the hole cut open, we're still probably a bit small, but this is a great time in order to clean the junk out of that subframe connector too that may have accumulated in over the years. So bring it in. It tucks up to the side, and so we can still get a weld all the way around on the flag. Essentially, you should be slid into that front subframe at least 6 inches. It might be just slightly less on the 71 to 73 cars, but the 65 through 70s should be a little over 6 inches that it's slid into that front sub. The 71 to 73 cars, I believe, are about a 2-inch wheelbase longer, so that's where the difference is, how far it slides in. The next step, now that we've had that subframe connector fitted into the end, we're going to mark our holes that we're going to drill for plug welding. Alright, this is a closer look at the marks. From this edge, we measured in 2 inches and 4 inches. And we also came in from this edge, 1.25 inches in. So we know we're falling into that subframe connector that's 2 inches square. Alright, we're ready to put the subframe connector back into place again. I used that mark I put on there for reference earlier. Push it into place, and we're just going to mark around all the areas that need to be welded. We're only going to weld through the torque box area back here. We're not going to weld into the floors, remember. But if we have carpet or anything like that in there, we'll start that on fire. All the way across the back, across this whole side, and around the flag on this side. Make sure you grind enough to take the galvanizing off your front and rear subframes. Most of these Ford heads have had a galvanized, and it's a very silvery color. When you grind through it, you'll see it's more gray where you hit regular steel. use a Miller 210 MIG welder to weld these in place, but certainly a good quality 110 wire feed welder with 030 wire would be more than sufficient to do the job. We got to put a good ground on here first. Personally, I like to attach directly to the item I'm welding. It's going to give you your best ground. Of course, if you're doing this with your interior in the car, you might want to probably make sure you put some tape over some of your holes. Theoretically, those sparks shouldn't be able to get in there. If you have holes in your floors, put some duct tape or something over, just keep sparks from flying in there. First pass isn't all that pretty. All we really did was tie it into that first layer of sheet metal in the subframe area. I'll try to keep away from this section here where it ties into the floor. If you've got interior in the car, that's where you're going to start on fire. I'm going to put a second pass in there that ties that back into the torque box. On this side of the subframe connectors, the side we had that 3/8 inch plate welded to, you can see the gap that we have here on this side of the stock subframe. I'm just going to do just a very simple modification. I'm just going to take a little wedge out of there so we can fold that up and weld that in. The last part of the installation on this car is to drill the holes for the center connection point. All I did is take a 1 size over 3/8 inch drill bit to drill these holes through. Now, you're not going to be doing this on your normal installation unless you decide to add these tabs. Here's that weld where we tie into the torque box. As you can see here, I'll try to get a little reference point where we are. This is your rear spring perch. We come back in here, you can see how that weld is tied into this surface weld. So I actually ran 2 beads in there. One ran in that actually welded into this edge. You can see that little edge there. I welded into that, and then I came back in and tied in, excuse my camera, but tied in all the way along there and around the back. And there you can see that weld underneath. See the weld all the way around. We tied it into the corner with the 2 plug welds. On the bottom, here's that modification I made. I just cut this corner, bent this piece in along there, welded that in complete, and then completed 2 plug welds. You can actually see the spot welds where that seat pan ties in. And that's what I've got these holes lined up for. So I'm going to drill those holes through, and then all we have to do is put a bolts and some washers in there, and that subframe connector's installed. So you can see, ends up being a really nice tight installation. The biggest gap is at the front. It's about 1/2 inch away from the front, but it's level flush with the rear or the front subframe at the bottom. And it comes back and it gets tighter. As we come to the back, it's almost touching at the back. Still have a very nice tight